A few years ago I was looking at fracking that was happening in Pennsylvania and places like that in America, and I thought there's no way that that can come to our densely populated little island over here. And now here I am camping in a field trying to stop the first frack that's going to happen since the moratorium was lifted after Quadrilla caused an earthquake in Blackpool.
The reason I'm here is primarily because after I visited Australia in 2012, at the back end of 2012, I was actually in Australia to do a lecture tour on something completely different. I was actually lecturing on the Australian economy. While I was there, I took the opportunity to go out into the gas fields of southern Queensland, and what I saw was truly shocking. And I was making the observation that, thank goodness we had a moratorium in place in the UK. Well, a week after I landed back in the UK, the moratorium was lifted, and I realised that the bottom line is that if we don't stop this industry from becoming established in this country, then what we are going to subject future generations to is lives of currently unimaginable misery, unimaginable to most people, because most people haven't been out into the gas fields of southern Queensland or Pennsylvania or Oklahoma or Texas or anywhere else that the unconventional gas industry has established a footprint.
I grew up in this beautiful place, and I would want this to be there for generations. What right have we got to allow this to happen? There are people in responsible jobs allowing this to happen. For what? For greed.
My community has exhausted the democratic process. We put in 4,000 objections to the planning application. Every single one of our village and town councils have opposed fracking, and we've even been to the High Court. But North Yorkshire County Council, with great pressure I imagine from Westminster, gave permission to the company to frack. And so now my community is left with no other option but to put our bodies between the industry and our land. And we are not your stereotypical activists. Our group is made up of concerned citizens of all walks of life, and it is this fracking that has united us.
What we've got here is an incredible jewel, and we're taking it for granted, the countryside of this country. Most people just take it for granted and they just drive along and think it's going to be there forever, and it's just not. It's what's beautiful and useful for food and water. These are things that we take for granted. These places are just getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and our country is tiny. It's a tiny country, and the devastation that's been caused by fracking in huge countries like America and Australia it's unbelievable. Why anyone would think that that's a good idea to bring that into this tiny country is just incredible and frankly insane.
Kevin Hollinrake, who's the local MP here, he went over to Pennsylvania, and while he was in Pennsylvania he made the observation that he thought there should be a safe distance between any building that's used for habitation or other public usage, and yet just down the road here we've got a well that has permission to be fracked. It's an existing well, and the entire village of Kirby Misperton sits within 1 kilometre of that well.
I was at a meeting with at Scarborough Borough Council chamber with a chap from North York Moors, planning head of planning, national parks. He's called Mark Hill, and he said when one of our Green councillors in Scarborough mentioned the 1 mile radius around residential areas, residencies. He said, "Oh, well, we looked at that. We even got our compasses out on the OS map, and we drew a circle of a mile, what approximated to a mile around all the residencies, and we realised that if that was the case, if we had an exclusion zone of a mile, we wouldn't be able to frack in Yorkshire. We wouldn't be able to frack in this country." Oh, that brought the house down. The screams of laughter and horror at what he was saying. He said, "We realised we couldn't frack if it was less than a mile, if it was a mile. So we reduced it down to half a mile, and now we can frack where we like."